I'm gonna do this video as I'm driving because I got somewhere to go. But I actually want to cover this because I found this very interesting. But the last few videos I put out got a lot of reaction around the topic of DMT. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about DMT, psychoactive drugs, the mushrooms, psychedelics. See, I already got a folder, all right, with 3 videos in it. One of them talks about the urine therapy and DMT in the video, but the other 2 are basically going in depth on the topic of DMT. And I spoke about this well over 4 years ago. And in fact, I suggest you go watch those videos because it'll answer a lot of the questions that you have around this topic of DMT and why I have this stance on this perspective I have of a person who's never taken it. Okay? And in actuality, okay, this video will actually go into that folder as well. This is just going to basically add on to the stuff that I've already been talking about, but with extra stuff that'll answer your question, which I find very, very interesting. I'm going to talk about myself a little bit, okay? You see, before I start talking about myself, I have a pineal gland just like you do. I have adrenal glands just like you do. I have thyroid glands just like you do. And I want you to understand that you even have, if you're a male, prostate glands just like I do. Okay? But I want to talk about myself now, and then you'll know the reason why I even mentioned that whole gland thing and whatnot. Okay? And if you even know how to properly use these things and tune them. Okay? But I'm the type of person, okay, that I like things working for me. I never really been the type of person that like to work too hard on things. Like, for example, I've always been a manager, but there's managers who want to do everything and basically to have more control. They'll keep their employees under, and they'll want to be the one running the business because they're afraid that if their employees get too smart, they might have taken over their job and whatnot. But there's a couple of perspectives and ways to look at this, okay? You see, the reason I trained my employees to be like mini-me's is so that if I'm not in the business, overall the business is going to strive and do well, because you see, I consider myself to be excellent at, let's say, for example, running like businesses that I was running before, which is supplement businesses. I was the best seller. I was the best trainer. I was the best at even operations. So aside from even being the best at customer service, at operations, I was very good. There was a lot of people who became managers just because they were good sellers. But then when they went and did audits as a manager, they were a disaster. You get what I'm saying? And that's not good. You have to be very well-rounded. But there's a lot of managers who want to do everything hands-on and not really just be the, let's say, the overseers of everything. That's what I like to do. I just like to be the overseer of everything. And doing this didn't work me so hard. Now, I wasn't afraid of anybody taking my job. That's ridiculous. I heard this from one manager, and he even had a bag called the termination bag. But that also says a lot about himself as a manager. Instead of training and developing and growing, because you see, it was more for self-serving purposes. I was more for the growth of the business, because I am the business. So the business I was running, even though it wasn't my personal business, it was still somebody else's business. I was working for somebody else. I was a reflection of that business. So let's say, for example, if I had 2 days off and my store was in the toilet, I'm the one that's going to get the call. What happened to the store? And I'm going to be like, what am I going to say to the manager? Oh, I wasn't there? No, I'm in charge of the store. The employees, even though they're not responsible for the numbers as much as I am, I hold them responsible for the numbers as if I was there, as if I was them. But this is going to be coming down to proper training and development, right? So I had little soldiers, little mini-me's. I had some, and I made them feel very special. That's the thing. And I compensated them very well, right? I may give them an hour paid lunch, whatever, maybe. You get the idea. I don't want to go too much into detail on that. In fact, when it had to be where it was a really, really important week, I may even give somebody let's say if they work an 8-hour shift, okay, I may tell them you can go home in 4 hours on that day, and I'll pay you the rest of the 4 hours. I'll work that shift as if I was 2 people on that day, because I was really good. I didn't really need an extra person there at all times, and I would do that basically on a day that wasn't as busy. But you get the idea. You got to be strategic, right? So I would tell them, hey, you could work 4 hours and I'll pay you for 8 if you meet these demands, these numbers, boom, whatever it may be. Okay, so I made them feel special. I had some in charge of operations. I had some in charge of let's say operations, meaning like paperwork and like stuff that I would normally be on top of at all times. And then I had others in charge of like inventory. I had others in charge of making sure the numbers were met, and if they weren't, what they get, how they would manage the store to do different. But they all had their own individual duties and responsibilities, but none of them were over the other. So I didn't want them to think that, because one was in charge of numbers, the other that they had authority over them. No, they were just the overseers of that, and anybody had to answer to them in that department. So everybody had a duty and responsibility. So don't treat that person bad, because then they'll treat you bad when it comes down to what you're doing in their department. So it was like a nice little teamwork. The reason I'm mentioning all this, okay, as far as like being a person that is a good business operator and you don't have to work hard, I do this in things like in the garden, where I will set up my garden to begin with, where the insects, the birds, the cats, everything in the garden is working for me. It's working in perfect harmony, even to the fact where I don't even have to water my plants, because even the microorganisms and the bacteria under the soil are working properly for me, because I have a thick skin on that soil. I have a thick layer of mulch, and that thick layer of mulch is holding that moisture. So that means that the microorganisms under there are never getting compromised. They're in the most stable, perfect environment for them to keep thriving and surviving, so that my plants never appear to have this illusion called deficiencies. Okay, because there's no such thing as deficiencies. There's just something that stopped working in the soil. So now I have that thick layer of mulch. I also have a very, very good ecosystem. So I have companion planting going on. This takes a little bit of knowledge. Okay, so now I attract beneficial bugs, and if there was ever an infestation of something taking over stuff in my garden, then I know that the predators are going to come and make order out of that chaos that's unnecessary at that moment. All right, and now I can take a divine intervention and start using chemicals and whatnot, but that would make me work too hard, and now I have to become a slave to the land, because now my garden becomes dependent on that, because I cut the food source for a predator. You kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about here, okay, when it comes down to not working too hard, right? So my pineal gland, and let's say if you know yours is working properly, because there's a lot of people who think that their pineal gland is just to see in the metaphysical realm. It's just to basically look into other dimensions or look at spirits, right? Because you know, since it's called the third eye, you all of a sudden get a mental picture of like that it's going to function the way these eyes work. Yeah, they can, but they're not designed in that way. And these eyes can only see front. That's it. Or if you turn your body, it can only see in that direction, right? Yeah, you can move your eyes up and down and whatnot, but you can't see in the back of your head, right? You have a peripheral vision, but you only got a certain amount of view for that. If you want to get a full view, you would have to turn your head, right? Now, here supposedly, whenever you want to see behind you, right, you would turn around, right? Or you would get senses. But the whole thing is that the eye that you call an eye, your pineal gland, has a 360-degree vision of sight. So you literally develop like if you had eyes in the back of your head, okay? If you want to categorize it as an eye. Because the thing is, in this realm, what is behind you technically doesn't exist. You only have what you're collapsing into existence with these eyes in existence, right? So let's say, how do you know you can even really turn around? How do you know you're even really turning around? How do you know that when you're walking, you're not just stationary and the world is moving under your feet? Or if you're turning around, how do you know you're really turning around and the world is just not moving around you the moment you think you're turning around, right? So every time you think you're catching something behind you, you're not really catching anything. It's still behind you the moment you turn around. So if you want to develop that third eye, think of it from a different perspective where it has a 360-degree sight of view, okay? And it's not just forward. So here's another way your pineal gland works. If you know, okay, and this is how I'm gonna tell you something. This is how I see myself. This is why I said in the beginning of the video, you may like it or you may not like it, because it may sound, oh, this guy is so egotistical and whatnot. But this is how I see myself. If you're trying to do something behind my back, I'm already gonna know before you even do it. Okay? If you are trying to do something that's not in my favor, I'm gonna know about it before you do it. If you, for example, are trying to backstab me, I'm going to already know before you do it. If you're trying to sneak in my house in the dark, okay, or have me in the dark about something, my night vision goggles are on at all times. I'm gonna see it before you even think about it. Okay? This is how you know. When somebody has ulterior motives, you're gonna know about it before it even happens. That's how you know you have a functioning pineal gland. Somebody has this saying that says, I got my eye on you. I mean, which eye is it? The left eye or the right eye? Right? No, it's that eye that you want to call an eye. You have a mental picture of that eye. You got your eye on that individual. Okay? That's how you know you got a functioning pineal gland. The pineal gland also produces certain chemicals called dimethyltryptamine. Okay? And this actually floods when you die, but it also, you get a little bit of it while you're sleeping. Okay? So this is a chemical that's already in you. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself too. I said I don't like to work too hard. But if I get stimulated in a way where it gets me to move, then my adrenal glands kick in. That's the most beautiful thing that could ever happen. When my adrenal glands kick in, okay, I get up and get shit done. Shit that I normally would be like, I'll just let it. No, and sometimes even out of that, let's say out of an adrenaline rush, it gets me to fucking move and do things that it leaves me in like awe, to be honest with you. There may be something that I want to say, and if my adrenal glands are kicked in on full gear, then I channel this energy and I'm able to get shit done. I'm able to do what I want to do, say what I want to say. The creativity juices actually flow in such a beautiful way as well. Okay? But I also consider myself like a real life Incredible Hulk. Okay? The Incredible Hulk, okay? I remember, I'm a big comic book guy. And the Incredible Hulk actually, he had a fight with Superman, who's known as the most strongest character in all of comics. Okay? But I'm going to tell you something about the Incredible Hulk, and not this weak-ass Hulk that you watch in the movies now. I'm talking about the real Incredible Hulk, the one that I grew up watching in comic books, the ones I grew up knowing the true powers of this character. Okay? When Superman fought the Hulk, okay, they were fighting, and it was the biggest fucking battle fight that you can actually, like, possibly imagine as a human, okay? In fact, they were hitting each other so hard that they were creating shockwaves throughout the cosmos. And in fact, they were actually doing something that Superman noticed was no good. He noticed that they were destroying the world. That's how much they were, like, fucking each other up. So Superman was concerned about this. He cared about the planet, because if he knew this, that every time he was hitting the Hulk, he was just getting bigger, faster, stronger, more aggressive. There's no limit to his power. It was just ongoing. There was no limit. It wasn't gonna stop. He knew that the more he fucked up the Hulk, the more he was gonna come back harder. He was not gonna stop. There was no ending to his power. And Superman has no limit to his power either. So Superman knew that if they kept fighting, they were actually not even just gonna destroy the world, they were gonna destroy the universe. They were gonna destroy the cosmos. In fact, they were gonna destroy existence, all right, in and of itself. So Superman said, well, how the hell is this battle gonna stop? He had to strategically actually figure out how to beat the Hulk. Do you know how he had to beat the Hulk? He had to let the Hulk whoop his ass. He had to just let the Hulk whoop his ass. He had to endure that punishment and just let that rage pass, because there's no limit. See, the Hulk is in blind mode. He did not give a fuck if the planet blew up. He did not give a fuck if the cosmos blew up. He didn't give a fuck if existence stopped existing in and of itself. The Hulk had one mission, and that was to destroy Superman. So Superman knew this. So one had to actually become conscious and aware that the world and existence and all that was going to blow up in it. So Superman is a Christ-like figure, right? It's kind of like Jesus Christ dying for the sins of the world, or enduring all the punishment that he had to endure, right? As the Christ-like figure, or even fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, all these sacrifices that he had to do. So Superman had to sacrifice himself and endure this punishment from the Hulk. He was getting his ass whooped, right? Until that rage passed and he became Bruce Banner, right? Because if he kept fighting him, he was just going to keep making him stronger. So he had to let this rage pass. And then what happened? He had the option when he became Bruce Banner to either kill him there or just let him walk. But that's the version of Christ that you would have to decide which one is. Is it the evil version of Christ, or is it the good version of Christ? Is it the one that says an eye for an eye, or is it the one that says turn the other cheek, or is it the one that's just pacifist? Is it the one that's seek and destroy, or do unto others as you would want done unto you? Look at all the versions of Christ, right? There's many different gods, but in actuality, okay, the reason I bring that up is because that's kind of like how I am. See, I'm the type that the only time that I observed myself not getting something done is when I doubt myself, okay? See, the moment I want to get something done, I will put myself in that state as if it was done already, okay? I bring that goal into the now moment, and the process, the journey is all taken care of by God. You see, if I start to worry about the journey, worry about the process, you know what ends up happening? I'm taking over the wheel of God. See, and that's too much work for me too. I told you I don't like to work too hard. So that work in and of itself is, there's too many variables, too many things to worry about, it's too many variables, you know what I'm saying? If I already have a goal, God knows the path that I need to be on for me to reach that goal. So I already trust the process, okay? So that is already taken care of. The adrenal gland part, the moment I start to doubt myself is the only time that I don't get shit done. My humanity is when is what's doubting whatever is happening in my reality. So let's say, for example, you have your third eye, okay? I just told you, if somebody has ulterior motives, you already know what's happening before it happens, okay? It's not just a gland to see into the metaphysical realm. And I'm going to get to the meat and bones of this video when it comes down to DMT and all that. But do you see how all these things are spiritual experiences intertwined in the physical? Same thing with the adrenal glands, okay? The adrenal glands could be used for fight or flight. They can be used to channel energy that you want shit to get done. But aside from that, the process is still taken care of by God, okay? Now, if somebody can't sleep, right, the first thing they want to do is they want to take melatonin. Do you ask yourself or try to figure out why you can't sleep, right? There's a lot of people who are tired. So the first thing they want to do is go buy something to give them energy. Do you know why you have no energy to begin with? Have you assessed what your diet looks like, your lifestyle choices, how you're treating yourself, what you think about yourself, your limitations? So let's go to this section now of the video. I'm gonna go into we talked about the prostate glands or the gonads, and you know, females and male have their own reproductive glands. Excuse me. So now I remember, and this is the thing, I'm telling you about myself and how I incorporate all these things into the topic that we're talking about when it comes to DMT and all that. I remember this one time with this one badass chick. I had sex with this girl, but I had sex with her 5 times in one day with a full erection intact at all times, okay? There's waves where you get this real powerful sex drive. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of guys, they say that when you have sex with a female, that she robs your energy, and that the reason why you should do semen retention and, you know, that you should do, not have an orgasm and whatnot is because you're giving all your energy to your female. I mean, let me tell you something. This time I had sex with this girl 5 times, I tore her shit up. And not only that, but she's the one that wanted to sleep, and she's the one that wanted to eat. Because a lot of guys say that, oh, you know, notice how she robs your energy because all you want to do after you have sex with her is you want to sleep and you want to eat, and that's because she drains your energy. Let me tell you what, like energy in general, okay? I don't feel you spent energy. You release energy and you circulate energy. You're like a conduit. You're a vessel. You channel energy, okay? And you express this energy, all right? The whole thing about this is like money. If you believe you spend money, then you spent your money. Buy money, okay? If you know you circulate money, then you're circulating money, right? You circulate money out, circulate money back in. It's all a consciousness. What do you believe about money? What do you believe about yourself? And all these type of things, okay? So if I have money, okay, if I am given $1 million, I best become a millionaire or I don't get to keep the money, okay? Because it's a consciousness. See, here's the thing with this illusion of power that you have of money. There's times it happens to me. I have a full pocket of money. I got a nice little band in there. I start to walk around differently. I start to treat people. Now I got this illusion of power. I feel good. I feel strong because I got this money. I even start to talk different, walk different, right? But when you don't got this money in your pocket, you tend to feel a little bit more insecure. You know what I'm saying? But it's an illusion though, because money really isn't worth anything, right? Now, when you have sex with a girl, you can do one or two things. You can have sex with her, or you can make love to her, okay? Now, when you have sex with a girl, and she's a badass chick, I mean, shit, you feel good. You feel your ego is fucking awesome. Now, the whole thing is, the first thing that I noticed I wanted to do when I was in my, times of like partying and doing all my shit, I just wanted to go brag about it. Man, yo, I banged this badass chick. Yo, look at that ass. Blah, blah, blah. And all I did was just wanted to talk about it. My ego, my humanity, my egoic animalistic self wanted to talk about it. But suppose that it was a sacred act, right? Where I'm making love to, let's say, my partner. And I love her unconditionally. She's my partner. And we make love, right? We make love. We have tantric sex. That's more of a spiritual experience, yet it's still a physical act. Because one thing I can tell you is that if you're truly doing a spiritual act, you would have an orgasm with this chick without even touching her, okay? You don't even have to touch the girl, and you would have an orgasm with this girl. Kundalini awakening, okay? Energetic, and you're having sex. That's a real spiritual act, okay? Now, when it comes to, let's say, the whole bragging about it, I look at that as the same way that somebody took this drug and they want to go brag about it, but they also want to have others participate in the same act they did because they think they've acquired these spiritual heights, and they tell everybody that they don't know anything because they haven't tried the drug. Now, I have reached certain spiritual heights, okay? Whatever your idea of that is. And I did it without the drugs. And some would say, well, ZigZag, how do you know how it would be to reach these spiritual heights if you've never tried the drug? I mean, well, I'm a mirror of you, right? How would you know how it would be to reach the spiritual heights without the drug? And now that you broke your virginity, okay, how would you know how it is without it now? See, the whole thing is there's a very, very big power in sobriety, in being a virgin, being pure. There's a big power in that, okay? Now, look, for example, everybody wants to say they're Christ-like. They are the God-man. Well, I'm the Virgin Mary. You see, the Virgin Mary gave birth to the holiest man on the planet called Jesus Christ, right? And she didn't have to get dicked by anybody. She just had the child without being touched by anybody. All these little allegories you hear, you don't think about none of these things, right? So now when you're taking this plant, because a lot of people want to educate me on the plant kingdom, but I can guarantee that you don't have a relationship with the plants the same way that I've had this relationship with plants, okay? But the same way, all right, that you can have this orgasm with a female without touching her, do you know that just being around the plants, you can have this exact experience without even having to ingest the plant? Just being around the plant, you can have this experience, okay? Now, why do I mention these plants and correlate that or equate that with women? They're the same thing. You see, the whole thing is that in my videos where I talk about DMT, psychoactive drugs, psychedelics and whatnot, I say that when the student is ready, the guru appears. But you'll have a realization over time that you are that guru. The guru will appear, okay? But there's a lot of people who want to chase gurus. Go find the guru. There's a lot of people who want to chase pussy. They want to chase girls. If you're doing that, you have an issue, okay? There's a lot of people who want to chase wealth. You shouldn't be chasing wealth or money or anything like that. You attract money into your life, all right? And there's a lot of people who want to chase this spiritual experience that became a fad, became a human, it became a human experience. So what, and I know a lot of people actually pay $7,000 to $10,000 to go to Costa Rica and this one place called Arrhythmia, and they want to go have this mystical experience. But they come back, and they may come back an evolved human. They may come back with, new dreads, some new beads, some new language, namaste and beloved and all that type of shit. They may wear weird hippie clothing now. They may not shower. They may not do a few things, you know what I'm saying? Because they're so spiritual now, right? But they're acting more spiritual. That's the whole thing. Are they really that at the core? You get what I'm saying? And the whole thing is that if you had this sacred act, let's say, or this spiritual experience with the plants, do you feel you need to go brag about it to anybody else? Because a lot of the times when I hear these people, sometimes the way, it's not because you could talk about it, but it's the way that they preach about it. I can't help but to get that preacher energy, or I can't help but to get that same vibe as somebody who just banged a badass chick. You get what I'm saying? Why do I equate that with the women? You attract what you are. So the same way I mentioned when the student is ready, the guru appears, all right? You attract what you are. You attract money. You attract these things into your life. Your vibe attracts your tribe. The woman that you have in your life, let's say if she's a toxic ass bitch, it's because you're a toxic ass individual, okay? If you attract a partner that's complete and whole, well then good for you. You're a complete and whole person. If you're half a person, you'll attract another half. That's why people say, oh, that's my other half. And then you won't be ever complete unless you have her next to you, when it shouldn't be like that. You should be complete, and you should also have a complete partner as well, where even if she wasn't there, you'll still be a complete person. But anyway, the reason I mentioned this is because, let's say, for example, if you're in a toxic ass relationship and you somehow break up with this bitch, and then all of a sudden you get with another girl, you notice you'll have the same exact problems you had with the previous girl. It's because you attracted the same person in a different body because you never changed anything about yourself. Okay? So that's why it's important to have self-awareness and some self-realization before you jump into another relationship, right? So now you're knowing that you attract that female. You don't chase the girl. So the plants, you attract the plant in your life, and you'll attract yourself as the plant in your life, right? Now, every single girl that you have, okay, every different person will have a girl depending on their character. They will each give them all an orgasm. You're all gonna have the same experience of an orgasm, okay? But does that mean every girl's the same? No, every girl is different, but you'll have the same orgasm. Some may be a good chemistry, some may be a better chemistry. I've gone out with some girls that, let's say, I talked about this badass chick, but there's been some girls that haven't been as pretty, but fuck with the sex was amazing. The sex was amazing. I was like, fucking A, bro. Like, the pussy becomes so intoxicating that it's like crack, right? Now, the pussy could be very enlightening as well. I mean, that's like a fucking portal, right? Now, that female with that pussy could be very enlightening, right? And the reason I mentioned this is this. Suppose you're around an enlightened individual, like a true enlightened individual, not an egoic enlightened individual, but a real enlightened individual, because this happened to me. You will experience that enlightened person the same way as if you were taking a DMT trip, right? And you don't have to ingest that individual. You just have to be around that person and interact with that person, and you'll experience that individual as if you were taking a DMT trip. Now, women, if you have a true partner, because you are complete and whole, and you somehow did some inner work, you got your feminine nature intact, you're going to attract a good female. And that female can enlighten you. that female alone could turn you on in ways you've never been turned on before. And I'm not talking about turning you on with your dick fully erect. I'm talking about turning on or pushing all your buttons in your body, turning all the fucking brain centers in your body, lighting you up like a fucking Christmas tree. Okay? So a female could be very enlightening, and a female could be very parasitic as well. But it all depends on the individual you are. Your perception about women matter too. People say there's no good women in the world. Well, it's not. It's because your perception about women is a certain way. Those are the only women you see because that's where your attention is at. Okay? But women are one of the most beautiful experiences. See, people think that because I talk about humanity a certain way and whatnot, that, you know, I don't like humanity. First of all, I work with people. I love people. I love talking to people. I actually love humanity. Okay? The beauty things about humanity are the things like having a woman next to you, feeling the essence of that female is just that, it's, I don't know, it's just the most beautiful fucking experience on the planet. And you're gonna go out saying that you don't like females? Like you don't want to be around them because they're robbing your energy? Like, what the fuck? I'm gonna make that in a deep topic in another video, because that just has to go with positive and negative charges, okay? And how you neutralize and ground that energy determines where all that shit is going. But we'll talk about that in another video, because in this video I want to keep it on the DMT stuff. So when it comes to the drug is going to give you an orgasm, but you can have sex with the drug the same way you have sex with a girl, or you can make love to the plant the same way you make love to a girl. Okay? But when you're making love to the plant, it's now coming from a more pure space. But the ultimate spiritual way to experience this plant is not even touching the plant. It's just being around the plant. Okay? Not even touching the plant, just being around the plant. That's the ultimate experience. Because you say you having a spiritual experience, well, how much more spiritual could it be that you don't even have to touch the plant? The same way you can have an orgasm with a female without touching the female. Okay? The same way your third eye works here in this realm, all right? Only because you have such a connection with the outside world, because you realize that that's your spiritual space, that is your spiritual nature, okay? You're like you know how animals, they got their physical senses are so well intact that they can hear better than a human, they can see better than a human, they can run faster, they can jump higher than a human. They have these senses that are enhanced, right? So a human has these senses, but in a much more spiritual way, where because their third eye is working properly, okay, they know these things before they happen. Okay, so you technically are kind of like saying, oh, people have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I mean, the eyes to hear and the ears to see, right? So the eyes to hear and the ears to see. So technically with that pineal gland, your third eye, you have that eye to hear as well. So you're hearing better, you're seeing better, you're perceiving things better, you're seeing the connectiveness in things. You're looking at everything as a chemistry and how it could work for you. And some people would think that those are selfish acts. Like, how could that? Well, here's the thing. If you're intact and you're good, the world around you will be good. Okay? It all starts because you're going to see the world for how you are, not for how it is. Okay? And I clearly said in this video with Aaron, I don't have anything against the drugs. I don't have anything against people who do the drugs. I don't care what you do. You get what I'm saying? The problem is when somebody's trying to push like their ideas and values and virtues on you as if that. See, me and Aaron were having a conversation. We're content creators. So we create content for you in people to hear on the internet. You're hearing my perspective as a man who never took it. You're hearing the perspective of a man who has taken it. So now we're two scientists brainstorming, coming up with our ideas to see how it can actually impact the world. But you take it as a debate. You take it as, oh, you don't like my energy because I come out, I'm a loud talking, fast talk. Man, let me tell you something. If you would have played sports with me back in my day, you would not even fucking finish the game. You would have probably walked out, because I was the biggest trash talker you could fucking know on the planet. That was my favorite part of everything, was the mental warfare, was getting into people's heads so that they can't perform correctly. All right? And the only time I didn't win was when I doubted myself. That's the only time I didn't win. This bled into everything. This is why I said, if it's going to be where it's getting something done, you get it done and that's it. There's times now that I've slacked on certain things. And it's because I've doubted myself. That shit now has got to come to a strict discipline, because these are things that I've developed through time, right? And it was a cause of something else that was evolving, such as like, oh, my spirituality. So now my physical started to get a little bit more put in the back burner. Now I started to not get shit done. No, it all has to be balanced. It's all intertwined and working like a well-oiled machine. And here's the thing, man. Let's say, for example, I even talk about Christ, God, and whatnot. My idea of Christ doesn't exist the way it exists for a regular Christian person. But there is that existence in me, right? And I can make a figure out of it outside of myself, appearing that I'm worshiping something outside of myself, but I'm really not. I made a figure out of what I know I got in me, rather than looking at it as external to me, but it's not in me. So I have to wait for it to come, like I'm waiting for Christ to come. So you have, I mean, there's perspectives and perceptions. Now, the energy that I was talking about, you never spent energy, you circulate energy. Okay? So when you're having a chemistry with a female, let's say you're making love to her, you should never feel drained out. In fact, you could go 5 or 6 times and never feel drained out. I've already tried that. Okay? Because let's say, for example, and this reflects a lot about humanity and the individual himself. All right? Because as much as you want her is as much as that girl wants you in bed as well. So the same way, for example, if you're let's say, for example, you're having a conversation with somebody. Like I talked to Aaron Berry from The Awake and Brave, and I'm having a 5-hour conversation with him. How do I feel so energetic afterwards? Right? There was a good chemistry. We were vibing. Technically, it was a sexual experience as well. Everything is sex. Okay? We were having a chemistry. So if it's a toxic person or a person that, let's say, the chemistry is not good, like the sex is not good, then you notice how you could talk to somebody for 5 hours and then you could talk to somebody for 10 minutes and you feel drained as fuck? That person was like parasitic or like an energetic vampire. Okay? Like I said, it says a lot about the individual. But you can only get vamped or drained, and that just depends on your aura, the energy field that you have around you. Okay? If you have and I'll make another video on that because I got to go deep into that. It has a lot to do with even the bacterial cloud that's around your environment. Okay, because what keeps you healthy and thriving is bacteria and viruses. There's bacteria and viral clouds all over every individual. Okay, and a lot of the times you think that it's just purely just being super clean, and it's not. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, it's the quality of what you got around you. That's what matters. Your mental state and perception about what you think about yourself also matters. Your perception about, you know, let's say, constantly thinking about protection is another way that you get infiltrated, because the reasons you think you always need protection is because you think that you're too vulnerable all the time and you're always open for attack. It's just what you think about yourself. I just told you, man, I let the gardens thrive. I let it do what it has to do, and it works. It's protected at all times. You know what's funny? The other day, I mean, I got cats all over my garden, and the other day I saw a possum crossing my garden in broad daylight. I mean, those are nocturnal creatures, and I've seen them at nighttime too. But you know what the funny thing is though? My cats are ruthless. They'll take a mouse, they'll fucking rip that, they'll rip the head out, they'll eat the head and just leave the carcass there, right? But for some reason, this possum, I saw it walking across and my cats were just looking at it, but they didn't do anything to the possum. They just let it walk across the garden and it just did what it needed to do. But they're normally ruthless, like they're very aggressive, especially if it's a foreign cat that's not from there. They'll go up to the cat and start hissing and basically roughing it up and chasing it away, right? And this possum just crossed the garden, it was just there. So I'm looking at everything like sometimes there's certain energies that may cross over and it's harmless. And sometimes it just creates a balance there, and it was just an energy that was just crossing that space. But the garden has to be in harmony, has to be set up properly. your life, your perception about things. The mind is all, the universe is mental. Okay? What is your mind and your perception about life and the people outside of you in and of itself, including the people that you look at in the government, the technology, all these things. You look at these things and sometimes you think they're out to get you, but you created these things. Sometimes they're just obstacles in the way that you overcome. And when you overcome them, you literally became stronger. It's like a virus. You got a virus, you contracted a virus, you got sick, your immune system was activated, right? But you build a memory and a defense to it, and now you came back. You notice after you get sick, right, and you get better, you got this, you feel like, wow, it's like, you feel great, man, everything, you just feel good. You know, like you could be in bed sick for like 2-3 days, and the morning you wake up and you feel better, you feel just invigorated, you feel great. And that's because you bounced back and you came back stronger than you were before. So now, let's say if you're transgender, gay, doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? That's fine and dandy. You could be gay, transgender. I don't have a problem with anybody. It's just the moment you try to push that agenda, I have a problem. I have vegan friends in New York. I gave you the story in like videos, old ass videos of mine, where we were all hanging out, and these people, some of them were even Muslim, some of them were different religions, because in New York you'll find all walks of life. And I remember that, you know, you'll do your religious practices behind closed doors. That's not even a topic for discussion amongst because we're just enjoying each other's company. We're experiencing each other. So we're enjoying ourselves, each other's company. We're friends, even though some were of a totally different religion than I was. So what does that mean? It's sacred. That doesn't need to be out in public and create an adversary outside of yourself because of your religious beliefs. Some of my friends are vegan. We went all out to eat. It was like 6 of us, right? And 2 of them were vegan. And they're like, ah, man, I'm vegan. I can't eat there. We were going to eat in some fucking steakhouse. And we were like, these motherfucking vegans. But then it was all good. It was like, we were having fun. We're like, all right, well, then let's find a vegan restaurant. We found a vegan restaurant. And the food was actually good. But it was no harm, no foul. I felt like I had more flexibility because I could eat at a steakhouse. I could eat at a vegan restaurant. It didn't matter. I ate wherever I wanted. They were very limited. They have to eat in a vegan restaurant. But it's fine. We respected that. And while we were there eating vegan food, we were continuing to enjoy each other's company. The conversation was just fucking brilliant, great, good. But the vegan topic never came up. In fact, we said, yo, this fucking shit was pretty good, man. The vegan food was pretty good. But we respected each other. You get what I'm saying? And we were all still able to hang out. This is how I feel the world should be. But the whole realization of not eating animals and whatnot, that's going to come down to a Christ consciousness. You get what I'm saying? And then even that, you will still have a Christ consciousness and still be able to eat the animals. You get what I'm saying? Because I went in depth to what my perspective is as far as like, you know, when you eat the animals and, you know, if you're in a Christ consciousness, what this energy transfer or transmutation is actually doing. So, you know, go watch those videos that I put up in that folder with, because I also have, I'm sorry, I made a folder on the DMT, which is what I talked about in the beginning of this video, but I also made a folder with veganism. And I had a debate with somebody with a pretty large channel, and I had a debate with him, and I covered all my points there too, as far as like, you know, the one way that vegans and somebody who's super left brain sees it, and how it's seen from the other perspective, the right side, or like you know, integrating the information and make it a lot more wholesome, you know, and really not having the necessity to create, you know, separation between you and the other person. Because even at the end of that debate, I told that vegan activist that I don't have a problem with what you do. You know what I'm saying? I'm just putting things into perspective. So I'm going to hold a position and a stance and basically put a wrench, kind of like I told Aaron. I'm going to be a disruptor, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to throw that wrench in the wheels of certain movements and whatnot. You get what I'm saying? And if you don't agree with what I'm doing, or you think you can throw a wrench my way, then try to throw that wrench my way, and you can see what happens. You you know. But the whole the whole point to this, for example, so let's say we covered the females, right? Because females are very, they could be very addictive as well. But the whole point to this is that that portal, that woman carried down there could be very enlightening. But it just depends on you, the individual, right? You can come out and brag about it and say, I banged the baddest chick on the block. You know what I'm saying? And it was just sex. It was just an experience. But then virginity, purity, right? There's a lot of power in that. Sobriety. You're already drunk. You're already high. You're already on drugs. If you're eating food, you're on drugs, But when you fasting, the sobriety of just not needing vices or crutches outside of you, there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. So tune yourself properly. A lot of people have these DMT trips and they can't even recall what happened, or they can't even talk about what happened. And why is that? It's because they're not of the frequency. You know how many videos I used to watch back in the day? And I would say to myself, I don't even understand what this person's saying. I don't know what the person means. I don't understand this video. But then later on, I watch the video and I get what they're saying and I can even talk about it. What does that mean? That means I wasn't on the frequency. I wasn't in the vibe. I was just listening to that, but I wasn't properly attuned, so I didn't even know what I got out of it. You could read a book. What did you get out of that book? So if it's a very elaborate, complex book, it'll be hard for you to grasp. Why? Because you're not properly attuned. So let's say, for example, if you eat food and it's very complex chemistry, do you notice how you may get a little indigestion? You may not process that properly, right? Because your body is not used to processing that. So the same way, information, if it's too complex, if the speaker is aware of that, the speaker can say, well, let me break it down for you. They're making it more bite-sized for you, right? For you to be able to process. So when you change, the world around you changes, and you'll attract the same thing in your life that's gonna equate to what you're projecting up, because your life is projected from the heart space. The anagram for heart is earth. That's why you see those words are very interchangeable. You can make the word earth out of heart. And if you look, you're here under time. Your heart beats, right? It's connected to time, right? And the crazy thing is that if you look at you emit a frequency, right? It's a heart rate frequency, and the word emit backwards is time. When your heart stops, you're out of time. Time's up, right? So everything here is connected to the heart. That's why Christ points to the heart. And really being you thinking from that space, because that's a brain. And that's why I told you, you're making love to the female. She knows how to, she knows how to really turn you on, light you up like a Christmas tree. It's not just be in one space. Like, everything has to work in harmony. This is why you hear people say you are the universe, right? Because it's one verse. Uni is one verse, one song you emit. But that's with all the organs playing as one song, right? That's why they call organs, because you play organs in a church. If one organ is off, then the song sounds distorted. If you're emitting a beautiful frequency, this is the ultimate protection if you're concerned with protection, right? And it all starts from an animalistic state. I talked about this with Aaron. An imbalanced root chakra is detrimental to the entire body. It all starts from there. Your animal nature, your animal spirit is where it all starts from, because the same way you observe these animals outside with these great senses, that's all in you already. But you have domain or dominion over the planet because you have a more evolved way of these senses than even these animals have. So I don't know. I think that's, and look, here's the thing. When it could be, I'm gonna close this video off on this. You say that you have these experiences when you take this DMT trip, all right? And I've seen junkies hallucinating on certain drugs, and I don't discard or discredit what they're hallucinating. I believe what they're seeing is very, very real. But sometimes taking the word of certain people who say that they've done DMT and they take these hallucinogenic drugs and and they look at this as the ultimate path. This is no different than taking the word of a junkie down the road and them telling you that they're hallucinating and whatnot. It's very different when it's done in a human vibe than in a spiritual vibe. Setting is everything. The individual that's taking it matters, man. It's not even just the drug itself. It's the person taking the drug. That's why I've mentioned in so many videos before, are you the one that's having that experience, or is the drug having the experience through you and you're observing it and you think it's you having that experience, right? Because I already told you, you're going to observe the plant, but that plant is you. You're observing yourself as the plant. Same way when you have sex with a female, right? You're experiencing yourself as that female. But time tells what that relationship turns out to be. If it's toxic, if it's not. I'm going to tell you right now, man, to really fulfill a female, it's not by what you're programmed that you have to have money and you have to see this whole illusion of power, right? There's guys who won't even talk to women because they don't have money. So they don't feel secure enough to go talk to girls because of money. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even how it works, man. It's not how it works. See, it's literally guided. It's a certain guidance. If you have a certain masculine energy and you know really what to do with this feminine energy, I mean, the girl will never leave you, man. You leave her fulfilled, she'll never even cheat on you. She'll never cheat on you. But anything that happens is a mirror reflection of yourself. And I came to realize that. I had to change a lot of things about myself. And it wasn't like I disliked anything about myself. I used to love the party days. I used to love the crazy motherfucker that I was, and I still have that in me. It's just that I know how to manage it. I know how to tune it now, because I realized that certain mental states that I may be in have certain outcomes in my life. Like even, shout out Zach from Crescent Story, where, he was like, like we had the topic where somebody is like really out of order or really like mean in your life. You have the option to, because you're giving life to the planet. I give life to the planet. I gave life to that individual as a mean person to begin with, unconsciously. But then now I can unconsciously continue to engage in that same vibe, or I can become aware and neutralize the energy, right? But here's the interesting part. He said that it doesn't always work, and sometimes you have to defend yourself. And that's, I'm not a pacifist, but the whole thing is that you're always going to find the right words to say. You're always going to find the right chemistry to neutralize it, if you know what you're doing, okay? It's like I mentioned in the video previous to that, where I said where if, you have a lock, right? Because everybody's a lock. It's like a lock. And if you know the right combinations, you're going to open that lock up and you'll get what you need out of the safe, right? That safe person. So it's the same thing even if you were trying to engage in a fight, right? The person's going to defend themselves. They're like a lock, right? If you use the right combinations, right, you are going to open up their guard, and once they're open, you get them with that final blow to knock them the fuck out, separate them from their consciousness, right? But notice how you use certain sequences, right, as combinations, and you got sequences of events in your life, right? You got certain frequencies, certain sequence of events. You use a certain sequence, certain combination, and that's going to be used in the form of language. That's why you could hurt people with words, or you could do it in a sense where when you're fighting, or you could use it in harmony, where certain words will open certain people up like a flower, right? So here's another way to look at it. But I already told you that you attracted the mean person in your life to begin with in an unconscious state because you're showing yourself what you are. Here's the crazy thing though. How did that person get there to begin with? That means that it's in you. It's in you, right? So this is the point that I made with Zach. For that situation to even occur, that's because it's in me to begin with. So if I'm aware of the harmony that I have within me, right? And it's not to live like, you know, a rigid lifestyle. It's just basically just know, you just know these things. You know what I'm saying? But you have a certain level of balance and harmony within you. You're not going to even attract the mean person to begin with. That situation wouldn't even be there. Why do you think people in the news share with you so many things? Because the moment you observe it and look at it, it's already now in you. It's like it's in you now. It's in your psyche. So it has a potential to come out and exist. But if you know how to truly eradicate these things at the core, at the root, from within in you, because is in your psyche, then you're able to know what you're gonna attract in your life to begin with. You know, if something appears in my life out of order, I mean, automatically this happens. I'm like, there's something. This is in me. I already immediately put that in my responsibility, my accountability. And it's not a blame game, but you're taking authority. Like like the moment you start putting yourself in victim mode, you give your power away. If you're really walking around saying that you are, God-like and you create your reality, then you don't just say, I create my reality when good things happen. When bad things are happening, you created that too. So you take accountability for that also. Something bad happened. Somebody fucked you up. Somebody fucked you over and whatnot. I created that. And then now you start taking authority and accountability for it. So now you become the accountant. You become the authority. Now you know how to conduct yourself. Because now you just became the conductor of that train. Brain entrainment. And I'm going to tell you this real straight. Everything's brain entrainment here. Everything's brain entrainment. Here's the funny part. A lot of people want to take DMT, and it's kind of like a shortcut. Because people will say that what you could have acquired in 10 years, you acquired it in 10 minutes. Right? But here's the funny thing though. Let's say you're a good looking dude, right? You're a good looking dude. You're a sexy motherfucker. You got no problems talking to female. You got no problems interacting with the opposite sex. Women love you. You attract women. And you know this. You go put in the work. Sometimes you may want to go and, suave a girl, maybe start talking to her, just make conversation with her. Making conversation with a female is very easy. You get what I'm saying? But let's say, for example, you get real lazy one day and you now want to go pay for a hooker. You may want to go, you pay a stripper and whatnot. Do you know that the moment you do that, you brain and trained yourself to think that now you're not worth having a girl for free. You always got to pay for it. It's the same thing when you're watching porn and whatnot. You entrain your brain to only get stimulated when you're visually looking at something or you have to see two